Happy Saturday. I hope the new month is off to a good start for everyone. Welcome to tonight's broadcast with me, Gloria Mutesi. Let's begin this edition by informing you that His Excellency the President of the Republic of Rwanda and Commander-in-Chief of the Rwanda Defense Forces has promoted and appointed the following RDF personnel as follows. Lieutenant Colonel Innocent Munyengango is promoted to Colonel and appointed Chief JF. Lieutenant Colonel Clever Karara is promoted to Colonel. The promotions and appointment take immediate effect. Parents working in the informal sector are asking for daycare centers in the heart of Kigali City, emphasizing that it is difficult to go to work with young children as it may affect their health. As Gabi Muvunyi reports, in accordance with the Labor Code of Rwanda, a child is not allowed at a workplace.
At the Nyabugogo bus station and in different parts of Kigali, many parents have various small businesses, and there's some accompanied by their children because they have no one to leave their children with. Working with your child around is tiring. There are times we sell on the streets and end up being chased around. Now imagine running with your child. It is dangerous. They can get knocked by a car or even get lost as you run. They get hungry and sometimes we have nothing to give them. There are times the sun is too hot for them, or even if they provide us with a daycare center, it will make things easier for us. We could go and see them whenever we can. There are times when we're being chased, you can drop your child by accident, and at the end of the day, you end up taking an injured child home. The Child Protection and Promotion Manager at CLADO highlights that in accordance with the labor law of Rwanda, a child is not allowed at the workplace. He adds that the fact that a child is present with the mother on the streets can lead to serious consequences.
A person that trades or has other business and has their child along with them is putting that child's life at risk. They are exposed to all sorts of things out there. These things affect their child's development. They often eat late when they get home, which may lead to malnutrition because of disoriented eating patterns.
Ni byiza kuko n'abayobozi baraboneka n'abanyagihugu bafite akamaro nabo bakaboneka kandi batojwe bakira abana.
The Vice Mayor of Kigali, in charge of socio-economic affairs, notes that parents are advised to use the daycares that have been provided in their villages, and she adds that more shall be added next to the markets. It is a national program, the reason for which is that when a child is not cared for at a young age and he or she is not provided with all necessary nutrients or emotional well-being, the child doesn't grow well. According to the Human Capital Index 2019, Rwanda is still quite low due to the fact there's still a large number of children that are not well educated. There are some that skip school or even drop out, which is why we're putting a lot of effort into caring for children from an early age, where we shall provide daycare centers for parents that are unable to look after their children as they work. The city of Kigali says there are plans underway to ensure that at least 3 daycare centers exist in each of its settlements, and they are currently 1,255. They are also being placed at schools, places of worship, and the markets. In regard to improving the livelihoods of roadside traders, the city of Kigali discloses that there are plans in place to ensure they are facilitated with somewhere to work from. Gabi Muvunyi, reporting for RTV News.
Many thanks, Gabi Muvunyi, with weather forecasts indicating that some parts of the country, like the eastern and southern provinces, might receive far less rainfall than expected during the rainy season. Farmers in the south have started getting concerned. Weather forecasts indicate that the southern and the eastern provinces will get just 50 to 75 million liters of rain. Sessionary has the details.
During this time of year, one agricultural season comes to an end while another begins. In this case, the 2021 C agricultural season giving way to the 2022 A season. Horeco supported us by teaching us more modern methods of farming, and I was fortunate to invest 100,000 Rwandan francs into growing eggplants, and I got 375,000 in return. Before, I would invest 100,000 and get just 70,000 Rwandan francs. Weather forecasts indicate that September will bring between 175 and 200 milliliters of rain in the northern and western provinces, respectively. The northwestern region of the country will receive between 150 and 175 milliliters of rain, while the southern and eastern provinces will get just 50 to 75 milliliters. The earliest rains will come during the second week of September in the northwestern regions. In other areas, it will be much later, especially in the districts of the eastern province, places like Kirehe, Ngoma and Bugesera, as well as some parts of the southern province. That is what our forecasts tell us. The forecast has farmers in the south of the country worried. Down in the marshlands, we can take care of it ourselves, but our farms up in the hills could be in trouble. We might have to ask for assistance to be able to irrigate the plots higher up. Otherwise, you can only rely solely on the rainfall. And if it fails, we are looking at major losses. There is nothing more we can do. We are losing hope because we had come to expect that the first rains would start falling around the 3rd to the 5th of September, and now we are facing losses from 2 agricultural seasons. We lost the sorghum harvest, then soya, and now it looks like the beans are next. There is certainly reason to worry, but because forecasts put the first rains during the second week of this month, we decided to get the seeds. Agricultural authorities say 85% of seeds and fertilizers have already been distributed among farmers, and they should stop fretting and prepare their fields for the first rains. We are waiting for the planting period to arrive and farmers are preparing their fields. As you saw, the manure has already been put on the soil, and now all they have to do is ensure that it is evenly distributed and scattered over their farms. Then they can begin planting. They are just waiting for the favorable dates, basically the 15th onwards. Hesitation can be costly because if you delay cultivating your land even 1 week, your harvests suffer. You lose at least 20%. That is why we are constantly calling on farmers not to delay, and because we still rely heavily on rainfall patterns, when they become irregular, they only compound the problem. The agricultural season that begins in September is usually the most productive of the year, but because of climate change and irregular rainfall patterns, the Rwanda Agriculture Board has urged farmers to include different irrigation methods as well.
Refugees in the Chiziba refugee camp in Karongi district say they have long moved past the perception that the refugee camp is like an isolated part from the rest of the country, and now that they have a big role in ensuring security for themselves. Let's now hear from Innocent Mugabo.
In 2018 in the Kiziba camp, there was violence and unrest caused by some of the refugees who were misbehaving that resulted into loss of life for some people and others prosecuted. Since then, refugees decided to be involved in their own security management. Bahati Emmanuel is a refugee living in the Kiziba camp and is one of the 30 security personnel. First, we look out for the infrastructure in the camp. But secondly, the night patrol is meant to protect the boundaries and rights of the refugees. We have cases of people that drink heavily and start throwing stones. What we do is we handle such cases and deal with such people and take them home. The representative of the refugees in the camp, Bagaza Baptiste, says managing their own security within the camp has brought peace.
Prison Fellowship
Prison Fellowship came in later in 2019 to promote peace and tranquility in the Kiziba camp and worked with partners and beneficiaries who are the refugees. We have dialogues, we have time to teach refugees, and since then in 2019, we have peace in the camp with various activities such as agriculture, business people, and all other things are done with no concern at all. The manager of the camp, Kamanzi Stratton, says that most of the challenges that were in the camp were mostly due to poor attitudes, and solutions have been sought for that since then by different partners.
Impunzi zafatanye inkambi nk'agahugu ka UN.
The refugees used to treat the camp as a separate little UN country in Rwanda. But through dialogues we had with their leaders, religious leaders, there is a women's parliament, different groups, we would talk to them about how refugees shouldn't have this perception. UNHCR doesn't have its own land, but rather supports the country hosting the refugees to give them a livelihood. Refugees aren't allowed to violate the laws of the host country, and UNHCR doesn't support that. Francis Ezike, the United Nations High Commission for Refugees representative at the Kiziba camp, says that peace is now evident in the camp, and this is thanks to the contribution of the Rwandan government.
Here, it has been a camp that people feel that it's not peaceful. When I arrived here in 2019, there were some problems of which today you can see the camp now that with the synergy of the government of Rwanda has done much here that I cannot measure their contribution. So with the contribution of the government of Rwanda and partners, the UNHCR have been able to make this camp a peaceful camp now.
The Kiziba refugee camp is home to up to 17,000 refugees, 65% of whom are youth.
Now, there have been calls from Kigali residents for more street dustbins to be placed at strategic locations to ensure that the city remains clean. Kigali city authorities, meanwhile, have announced that every street in the city will have its own dustbin before this year is over. Up to 491 kilometers of Kigali roads have recently been tarmacked, and in addition to installing street dustbins, city authorities have announced that bus stops and other necessary facilities will be included before the end of this year. Ndaishima Jan Bakams, a Rwandan living in the United States, remarks that he is determined to work in Rwanda after listening to the advice from President Paul Kagame that Rwanda will be built by the efforts of Rwandan. Gabi Movonyi brings us his profile. Take a look.
Daishima Jan Berkmans is a 52-year-old man who left Rwanda in 1990 at the age of 21 to attend university in Russia.
I went to Russia where I studied chemistry, but in my third year, I had to move to the United States where I now live with my family. Returning to Rwanda, I live by the words of our president, where he said, "The greatest asset of our country is the people, and efforts of Rwandans will be used to build our country."
He returned to Rwanda in 2007 and began his work in assisting street children from Rubavu, Nyaruguru district, and is currently working in Karongi district in Bwishura sector.
First and foremost, we show love and we don't judge them. Instead, we care for them. We listen to them and we try to understand why they go out on the streets, why they steal, or why they are not in school. We do this to have a clear picture as to what makes them behave like this. We work with the children and with some of their families because being able to mentor some of these children eventually choose to return to their families.
Bwishura village in Nyarusazisel is currently undergoing construction of a story building worth more than 500 million Rwandan francs. The buildings are not far from Karongi town, but it is quite difficult to get there.
Bringing infrastructure to rural areas across the city. I once heard President Paul Kagame say that it is not good for people to move from rural to urban areas, but instead it would be better if the city came to the rural areas. This is one of the reasons we started such projects here.
Frank Kubgishaka is a young man who once lived on the streets because he only had one single parent. In his case, he only had his mother, who was constantly suffering from different illnesses. The 22-year-old is one of the few who were removed from the streets.
He was by my side from my primary school years and also through secondary school. He made sure he was present in all aspects of my life, be it school, be it financing my school fees, and even when I passed my secondary school examinations. Being in university is all because of him. I had no hope of life, but now I hope that I can help the children I left on the streets. I have to do something to help my country.
The young man says that although the future is bright compared to where he came from, he wants to strive and contribute towards the development of the country.
I know the life I lived. I know the feeling of being hungry. I know the feeling of not being able to get a book. When we often see children like that, we judge them. That shouldn't be the case. He or she is like any other child. Rather, it is because he or she lacks someone that can mentor and take care of them. During the years I was a street child, people would call me all sorts of names. But now I am no longer a street child. I'm a person who can contribute to the development of my country.
Frank is studying economics at the University of Rwanda and has a dream.
I have a dream to set up my own clinic. I am currently studying economics, but I have grown up loving anything medical related and feel that my clinic will help people.
The street children can hear when people talk about them. This is evident in the poems they recite or even the songs they sing. There are currently 25 former street children being cared for in Karongi district, while 15 being completely transformed and are doing various jobs. In addition to helping street children, Daishima Berkmans also funded the Global Heal to Heal organization and helps young people who have graduated from school to learn different skills, including sewing. I think I will design this shirt like this. It will suit him. I am making this shirt for him because where I am now is all because of him. Daishime Jan Berkmans mentions that there are 70 children who have been removed from the streets thanks to his dedication, and he says he is looking for partnership opportunities despite the fact there are well-wishers who are donating various materials towards the construction of the story building. Gabi Muvunyi, reporting for RTV News.
Well, our colleague John Patrick Kwizera took the time to hold an extended interview with Jan Berkmans in Daishima to ask him more detail about his past and his determination to assist street children. Take a look.
Well, coming back to Rwanda, it was an idea which was born after I heard the president of Rwanda. You know, people who were born in Rwanda, who live outside of Rwanda, were so proud of the government and of the president who's leading the country. Once I heard him telling the journalist, I believe, that Rwanda is rich on people. People of Rwanda, the Rwandans, are the ones who are going to build Rwanda. They're the ones who have honor to build up the Rwanda, especially after the ruin of the genocide of Tutsi. Well, I left Rwanda in 1990, went to Moscow, Russia, to study chemistry. While I was there, I took also classes of divinity classes, and I became a pastor there in Moscow. I got married with a Jewish lady, and then 9 years later, we went to America. We left for America, where we still live. We live in America, in New York.
Did you have some kind of numbers of people who was benefited from these programs?
Sure. In Nyamyumba, Rubona alone, we started with 76 children. First day we took 1, 2 days later we had 4, and a week later we had 76 kids at the beginning in 2007. And by the end, we helped almost 200 kids in Rwanda. In Gisa, each year we have graduation about 100 kids since 2009. And in Nyaruguru, we have about 1,000 children we are helping about 1,000 kids who went through our program. And here in Bushura, we started about 100 kids, and it grew. We reached about 200 and some, because they finished the program, they go to school. For the street children alone here in Bushura, there were 73 kids who were known in the district as street kids.
When you reach in this area, you can see that it's a remote area. Why do you decide to bring these infrastructures in this area?
It is a double-edged answer. On one hand, we were led by God. On the other hand, we were following the desire, or I would say the direction of the leadership. Again, I once heard the president saying that the people, you don't have to leave your countryside to go to the cities. I wanted the cities to reach you there where you are. It's kind of bringing a city to the rural area. So that's why we are here. And second, in the city we have street kids a lot. And many of them, I would say none of them is born in the city. They're coming from out of city, reaching the village or reaching the cities. Now, if we go to the village, to the country, to the rural area, and reach out to kids before they go to the cities, we are actually doing the prevention.
Do you see the impact of being here in these mountains of Gishura?
I do. I do see a big impact. First of all, the construction loan provides opportunity for many people to have a daily employment. So that's one. This brings some income to different families. When we have between 50 and 100 people every day, those are people who live nearby. So that is impact number one. And impact number two, when we see children who left school 2-3 years, drop out, and coming back, returning to school, and performing well, this gives a big hope. And that is also a big impact.
What is your vision? I can see you are still building other infrastructures. I want you to tell us a little bit about your vision.
The vision is to have a complex here as a rays of hope, where we will have a preschool program, we have a school program, high school program, and even vocational program. That is our idea for those kids who will be attending here in this complex. But for outside the complex, we do want the people surrounding this complex to benefit from it.
I want you to respond on the question of the cost of doing this. Where do you get fund? Where do you get money of doing this? Because all of this is about money.
It's not the result of one person. Partially, it's my family, my church, my friends, people here in Rwanda who see what we are doing and just providing one way or other way help. For example, you see we have big construction. We needed a lot of stones. People just are providing stones.